All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott, formerly of Rankin Technical College, and as part of my YouTube channel, JPS-Just Jeff Teaches Programming, and in particular the YouTube playlist, Jeff Teaches Programming-Python, I have been working on this program to create a non-object-oriented Python console program which does the following. And that is, it's going to use lists to get information about employees. Each employee has an employee number. In fact, I should be consistent here, which must be unique. Each employee has a first name. Each employee has a last name. Each employee has an hours worked. You can see the employee number must be unique. The first and last names cannot be empty. The hours worked and hourly rate must be numeric and must fall within a certain range. For the hours worked, it's between 0 and 84. And for the hourly rate, it's between 0 and 99.99. So I could change this to less than or equal to $99.99. And to be consistent, I've been doing a lot of this when I'm working with currency fields. Each employee, all right, calculate gross pay. So that's straight time, non-overtime gross pay as hours worked times hourly rate. But if they get overtime, all right, they get time and a half for all hours over 40. Then I said, I went over to here, which was the Python. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. The Python list methods. There they are. And what I did was I tried to implement as many of these as I felt I could. So there is an append, there is a clear, there is a copy, there is a count, no extend, there is an index, there is an insert, there is a pop, there is a remove, there is a reverse, and there is a sort. All right, so I've added all those except for this one here. All right, so that says add the elements of a list to the end of the current list. So that's the one I didn't do. All right, and basically what that allows you to do is kind of combine a couple lists. All right, so if we take a look at what I have done so far, this has been broken up into about 4 different files. 2 of these files are short, and 2 of the files are a little bit longer. This is the first file. Other than the comment that I just told you, it's pretty short. What do I mean? That's it. So that's the whole thing. Now I'm bringing in Python header, and that's the next file that we're going to go over. And all that does is at the beginning of the program, it says, welcome to my Python program. This one is going to use lists. All right, the next iteration of this, it's going to say this iteration uses dictionaries. All right, I tried to play with caches. I'm still having a problem invalidating my cache, but I've got that in there. Also, this is where I use the menu. Okay, so you can see what I'm saying here, and again, this is boilerplate type of code. All right, we do have a main in there, so I said to call main. I could leave this line out, move this over to here, and it would still work just fine. So what are we doing in main? We're doing 2 things. The first thing that we are doing inside of main, as you can see, is we're telling it to go out to our pheader.py file and call the getTitle method. Python header, which I just renamed pheader, it's right here. Again, it just says, welcome to my Python program. This program will utilize Python, and this time I passed in lists. So it'll say this program will utilize Python lists. Then we call the menu. Okay. Now I'm calling the menu here and I'm calling it here. Did I need to do both? Probably not. Okay. So let's bring up the menu. So this was the main file. This was the header file. Here's the menu. Now, again, notice I'm going to be using, this has got all of my code in it, so to speak. This has got all my methods in it. All right, there is one routine in here, and it's big, and it's called the list menu. And basically, the idea behind this is it creates the list menu. All right, now it's done a little bit differently. First, we come in and we create an empty list of employees called employees. Then we create a set. All right, these are non-repeatable. These are 11 different things that are in here. What do I mean by that? All right, if we enter a 1 in for our menu, you can see there's 1 to 12 there. If we enter in a 1, we're going to call the add new employee method. We're going to pass in our employee list, and we're going to pass in the number 1. We'll get to what that is in a little bit. If we enter number 2, we're going to clear the employee list, and we pass in that list of employees. If we enter a 3 for our menu option, we're going to copy the employee list, and we're going to print it out right away, just a copy of it. If it's number 4, we're going to give a count of how many employees are currently in the list. If it's a number 5, all right, it's going to say, as you can see right there, it's going to say, enter associated employee number, and it should find that employee's index. So if it was the first one, it should return 0. All right, next is going to allow us to insert a new employee, but we can tell them where we want to insert the new employee. When we do the insert up above, all right, up above, it's going to insert it, but it's going to insert it at the end. Here we can insert it any place. All right, there might be an error in there, but we'll check in just a bit. This is pop. All right, so this is going to allow us to remove an employee, and we'll give it the position. So if we have 10 employees, they're positions 0 through 9. We can also remove an employee by employee number if we provide that. We can reverse our employee list. So if it goes from 0 to 9, it'll now go from 9 to 0. We can sort the employee list, and we can display all of the employees. Now you'll notice that in 100% of these, employees, 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 and employees, we're passing in this list of employees. All right. Now these are all in there as what are known as lambda functions, Lambda. And if we go back and look at what we were talking about earlier, I just had this up, and of course I think I removed it. So let's see. Well, like I said, I thought I had it. Well, I don't want to waste anybody's time, so let's just type in here lambda, Python lambda. There it is. All right, a lambda function is a small anonymous function, which means technically it's unnamed. A lambda function can take any number of arguments, but can have only one expression in it. All right, so here's an example of a lambda function. What's going to happen right here is it's going to basically set up X, and it's going to pass 5 in. 5 will become A. So 5 plus 10, where 5, this 5 is going to be put here. So 5 plus 10 is 15, and it's going to assign that to x. And you'll see, there it is. All right. Then if we go in and we try doing it this way, notice we're passing in two things. This 5 goes here, this 6 goes here. 5 times 6 is 30, so 30 should be set to x. And again, you can see that it is. All right. Here's one last one here where you were passing in three things. 5 for A, 6 for B, 2 for C. So A plus B plus C should be 5 plus 6 plus 2, which is 13. So when we run this, x should be 13. Now they're saying here, this is a good section. Why use lambda functions? One reason, which sounds kind of silly, but it's the truth, is people use them. They're used all over the place. It says the power of lambda is better shown when you use them as an anonymous function inside of another function. So say you have a function definition that takes one argument, and that argument will be multiplied by an unknown number. All right? So it says use that function definition to make a function that always doubles the function you send in. So here, what are we doing? We're calling my doubler, and we're passing in 11. All right? So what this should be doing is it's calling my func, all right? And that 11 will be multiplied by 2, which should give us 22. It typically provides a shortcut for us. All right? And there's more stuff in here. Again, lambdas are used a lot. They're used in, for example, client-side JavaScript, server-side JavaScript, and other languages as well. All right. So going back to this, this was the menu. All right, so it's just going to print out Python list menu, enter a 1 to do this, enter a 2 to do this, etc. Now, before we finish this, because there's not real much more in here, that's the rest. Let's think about a couple things here. In particular, okay, so in particular, okay, we can add a new employee, not a problem. For number 2, if we want to clear an employee list, we don't have to do this, but let's check first to see if it's empty. For number 3, let's check first to see if it's empty. For number 4, let's check first to see if it's empty. For number 5, let's check to see if it's empty. 6, we don't have to, but we could do it there too. 7, we'll check to see if it's empty. 8, we'll check to see if it's empty. 9, we'll check to see if it's empty. 10, we'll check to see if it's empty. 11, we'll check to see if it's empty. So we'll check all those. And you're going to see those in just a moment. All right? So here is where we're telling the user to make their choice. Notice what we're saying here is enter 1 to 12. Okay? If the choice is equal to 12, you break. We get out. We're done. Otherwise, what we're doing in here is we're checking. What this is doing right here is it's saying, hey, check and see if that choice is one of our options. In other words, was it 1 through 11 here? We've already covered 12 here. So this is saying if it's 1 to 11, then we want to choose it. Otherwise, it's going to end up, if we put in something that's invalid, all right, so it's expecting a number if we put in hello or something like that. All right, but if we put in a different number, it should say invalid choice, please try again. All right, so that's the first 3. So let's go and look at this. This is pretty long, 130 lines. And I put some stuff in here that may or may not have been necessary. In fact, when I think of this now, probably this math one that's in here, I don't think I'm even using it. So let's comment it out for now and make sure the program still works. Okay. These are our program constants. So again, you've seen this kind of thing before. Nothing new here. In other words, minimum employee hours worked, maximum employee hours worked, minimum employee hourly rate, maximum employee hourly rate, minimum employee, we're going to just say here straight or non-OT hours. And as you can see by the name right here, that's exactly what it is. In other words, it is the overtime rate. All right. So what we have here, and I'm going to comment this as we go down. These are a bunch of our functions. Remember, number one over here, number one was add a new employee. All right. So what are we doing? This function attempts to add a new employee. Now it's actually going to be called twice. Notice if we call it with a number 1, we're adding the employee to the end of the list. And if we call it with a number 2, we're adding the employee at a specific position in the list. All right. So said employee can be added either at the end of the list or in a specified position in an existing list. All right, so again, we're passing in here our list, that number, which is a 1 or 2, and that position. Okay, then what are we doing? Well, each employee has these 6 things. Each employee has an employee number. Each employee has an employee first name, an employee last name, an employee hours worked, an employee hourly rate, and a gross pay. So what we've done here is we have these functions. I just put the word get in front of them and calculate for the gross pay. But this will, as it says, this is one routine to get the number, another routine to get the first name, another routine to get the last name, etc. Now you'll notice in these here, none of them have anything passed in, but this one has the employee list passed in. That is because, as we said earlier, each employee number must be unique. So we must test when we're attempting to put an employee number in to make sure it doesn't already exist. But 2 employees can have the same first or last name, or the same hours worked, or the same hourly rate. Once we figured out hours worked and hourly rate, we can call calculate gross pay and pass it the hours worked and the hourly rate. Once we have all 6 of the pieces of information, and right here, all right, there's the 6 pieces. So we put those into a new variable called employee, because that's an individual employee. If it is the number 1, we want to add it to the end of the list. Otherwise, if we passed it in with a number 2, we want to add it at a specific position in the list. All right, we'll go over this. We're going to run it in just a second. All right, So here are the individual things that are in there. Get the employee number. This, again, is the only one that has a try-catch in it. All right. Why? Because we're telling it to input an employee number and convert it into an integer, and it must be unique. If it's empty, or if it's not equal or not in there, we say each employee number must be unique and not empty. And otherwise, we return this. If we raise a value error here, we print out basically this. Then the get first name and the get last name are basically the same function. Except in one case, as it says, we're getting the first name, and in the other case, we're getting the last name. This is a shortcut for if first name is true. All right, I removed some of the parentheses in here. Left some in, but removed some. And I think I'm going to navigate towards removing as many parentheses as possible, because it just looks a little cleaner. So this is short for saying if first name equal true, meaning we put in first name, we return it. Otherwise, we say it can't be empty, try again. Then we do the same exact thing here for the last name. All right? Then we come in and do similar things for hours worked, but since we're putting in numbers, and since those numbers have to be within a certain range, all right, we're making checks in here. In fact, I did add a function here. So, yeah. So input employee number. Number cannot be a duplicate. I.e., there cannot be an existing employee with this number. Okay? So, then we've got here input employee first name. First name cannot be blank. All right. Then we've got input employee last name. Last name cannot be blank. All right. Then we've got input employee hours worked. Hours worked cannot be blank. Cannot be non-numeric, and must be between 0.00 and 84.00, which were our constants that we're using here. So this is kind of where I left off just a minute ago. So telling them to enter it, and we're attempting to convert it to a float right away. If it doesn't work, it's going to throw a value error, and we're going to say input wasn't valid. If we put in something, and again, this is a shortcut, so if the hours worked is greater than or equal to the min hours, and it's less than or equal to the max hours, meaning it's between 0 and 84, return it. Otherwise, tell them that it must be between those two values. Then we do a similar thing here with the rate. All right, so this is hourly rate. And here it's 99.99. Again, those, as I mentioned earlier, were just arbitrary values that I came up with. So we're doing the same thing here. We're attempting to take and input an hourly rate and convert it to a float. If the hourly rate is greater than or equal to 0, and the hourly rate is less than or equal to $99.99, return it. Otherwise, it's out of range. So we could say here, print out of range error message, because that's what it is. And this is print invalid input error message. All right. So we've got all that. Now we're going to calculate the gross pay. So the straight time is hours worked times hourly rate. And the overtime is straight time is hours worked times hourly rate. So it's basically 40 times the hourly rate. Oops, try that again. It's 40 times the hourly rate plus the hours they worked minus 40 times the hourly rate times 1.5, which is the overtime rate. Okay? All right. This will clear the employee list. All right. This will create and return a copy of the employee list. This will give a count of all of the number of employees in the employee list. This will allow us, this will find an employee based on the inputted employee number. This will insert a new employee at a desired position in the list. This will remove a desired employee from a desired position in the employee list. This is starting to look really bad here, so let's see. Just trying to be consistent here with the way I'm setting all this stuff up, that's all. All right. This will delete an employee based on the inputted employee number. This will reverse the order of the employee list. This will sort the employee list by employee number. This will display the current contents of the employee list. All right, now that's everything. And I've just gone through and put in some documentation so you know what's going on in here, what I'm attempting to do. And I mentioned this earlier, but one thing I did, and I pulled it out, but I'm going to put it back in, and that is when you look here, most of the things that you see right here, maybe not 100%, but most of the things that are right here, there's a few exceptions, 12 is one for sure, but with most of these, I'm going to check first to see if the list is empty. Maybe not 1 in 12, but why try to clear a list if it's empty? Why try to make a copy or a count or find something? All right, so really for these, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and really 7 to 11. So really other than 6 and 1, and really if it's an empty list, there's only one place to insert it anyway, and that's at the beginning. But, you know, for those, I want to go in and I want to write a routine that's going to check to see if the list is empty. And I only want to do the code that we're starting to go through in here if indeed the list has something in it. And if the list has nothing in it, there's really no sense in going on. So let me grab that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this for just a second, and then I'll come back. All right, so I came through here and I added 2 new functions. Is the list empty, which said if the length is 0, return true, meaning the list is empty, otherwise return false. All right, and this list is empty right here is going to basically, if you run one of these, it's going to say, sorry, the list is empty. It's going to sleep for 3 seconds and clear the screen. So why did I do that? Now I can come in here and I can do this. It's not what I wanted to do. Let me steal. This is my own code. But, so let me grab this. In fact, let's do this. Right now, this routine looks like this. I'm just telling it to go through a for loop and for each employee print out their number, their name, their hours, their rate, their gross. But I want to change that so it looks like this. Now, don't worry, let's move this over so it works. All right, so let's see. Again, this is a temperamental language when it comes to things like your tapping, so that's why I'm taking the time to do this. All right, so now I'm saying okay, if the list is not empty, then do this. Otherwise, say the list is empty, which again is going to clear the screen, etc. Okay, so here's another one. Here's the sort. So I'm going to come in here and do the same thing here. If print, oops, let's see. Try it again. All right, so if it's not empty, we're going to tell it to sort, and it'll print that it's sorted. Otherwise, again, we're going to give a message that the list there. Okay, we're going to go over these in a little bit more depth in just a bit. Same thing with reversing. Doing that, I don't know. Oh, I know why, because it's okay, it's blued out there. All right. Again, else list is empty. So you can see we're starting to make some checks in here is what I'm getting to. Remove employee by employee number, same thing. So I'm going to go in and add these to just about all of the ones that are in here. Okay, I'm going to move these over. All right. So like I said, you can see I'm doing this in almost all of these. Now, inserting the new employee, I don't want to do that. Okay? Because it's inserting a new employee. That's what I want to do. So I don't have to worry about that now. So I can skip that one. But finding, I do want it. Count, I want it. Copy, I want it. Clear, I want it. And for the insert up there, I don't want it. Okay? All right, I've gone through a lot in here. I want to just take 1 second, literally. But again, this is the list empty, just says if the employee list length is 0, i.e., there are no employees in the list, return true. If it gets down to here, there are employees in the list, so return false. And since these are case sensitive, there we go. All right, so print message that the list is empty, then wait 3 seconds and clear the screen. Okay, so that's what's going on in here. Now I've kind of gone over at least some of the stuff that's in here, but not everything. So let's quickly do that. All right. Now we went over the add new employee and everything that's in there. So I've gone through those already. All right. And we went through calculating the gross pay. So again, for clearing the employee list, we're checking if it's not empty. Then we just call the clear command and we give them a message that the list has been cleared. Copy, if it's not empty, we return a copy. And that return inside of our menu, we've told it to print the copy. All right. For the count, all right, we're calling this, and it should print a count of how many employees we have in the list. But again, we only want to do it if the list is not empty. There are a total of X number of employees in the list. To find one based on the inputted employee number, again, this is saying if the list isn't empty, go through it. If you find a match, return E, which is that value. If there isn't anything, so in other words, we could say here, match was found. And in this case, no match was found. All right. Here we're inserting. Here we're popping. So again, the position has to be greater than or equal to 0, but less than the length of the list. So if there's 10 elements in the list, they go from 0 to 9. So if we get to here, we found the employee to pop. And if we get down to here, did not find the employee to pop. So we put in an invalid position. Same thing here. In this case, we found the employee to delete. But again, we are deleting based here on employee number, and we're doing it here based on their position in the list. All right. And again, if we get down to here, we did not find the employee to delete. This is reversing the order. So this will do the reverse. This will actually do the sort. Got it here, sort by employee number. Let's move that up. So we'll sort it in ascending order based on employee number. This will, as it says, display all of our employee information. All right, so now I've gone through the whole thing. I'm going to save this, and in just a couple minutes, I'm going to pause again. But in a couple minutes, we're going to run this and see what it looks like. All right, after a little bit of a delay, I am going to go through and run this. I have gone through all of the code, and hopefully, at least to most people, I've explained what's going on in here. But when I run it, I've got to run this file right here, the payroll list non-oop, which again is going to call get title, which will start it and say that I'm using a program with lists. Then it'll call the list menu. So this is the title right here. Very short little sweet little thing. This is the menu. Again, I've used lambdas in here. We talked about lambdas before. And 1 to 11, we're calling the appropriate function. All right. And this is setting up in here. This is setting up the menu. Now, there's a lot of things that could be done here, probably making it better. Like the options could have been put in, I could have set the options in one function. I could have set the menu in another function, then just checked it in this function or something. So there's a lot of ways this could probably be improved. All right. Finally, these are our list methods. All right. And I've gone over all of those with you. So what I'd like to do is to bring this up and run it, and we'll see what it looks like. Again, by no means am I saying this is perfect. So let's save it and let's run this. All right. I'm going to try to go over everything that's in here. So number 1, add a new employee. So let's try that. I'm going to add myself. I'll be number 123, me. And I worked 40 hours and I make $25 an hour, which should give me 1,000. Now, all it says there is employee 123 was added to the end of the employees list. Okay, probably I should have gone in here then and cleared again, but I didn't, and it's okay. All right. Could I clear that? Yes. Let's go from here, though. Let's go to number 11, and let's display all the employees and see what it looks like right now. All right, so there I am. Employee number, employee name, employee hours, employee rate, employee gross. All right, so far it looks okay. Let's add another employee. All right, we're going to make this one 100, and I'll use my wife in here. And we'll say she worked $50 hours rather, and makes $50 an hour. All right, so now let's display all of our employees. And you can see we've got both me and her, and they're just in the order that they were put in. All right, so it appears at least as though 11 works and 1 works. Let's try to sort these by employee numbers. So let's do a 10. And then let's do an 11 to see if indeed it changed the order, because 100 comes before 123, and you can see it does. So right now I've shown you that 12 works. I'm sorry, that 11 works, that 10 works. Well, let's see if we can reverse it now, get it back to the way it was. So I'm going to put a 9 in there. And let's do an 11 again. And you can see it's back to the way that it was. So it appears right now as though 9 works, 10 works, 11 works. Let's try 8. We remove an employee with a certain number. All right, so I'm going to come in there with 8 and enter employee number to remove. I'll try me, 123. All right, so that's the employee number, the one that says that has been removed from the list. That's me. All right, so let's see if indeed I'm gone by coming and putting an 11 in there. And you can see that all that's left is my wife. So that appears to work. So 8, 9, 10, and 11 work, and 1 appears to work. All right. Let's add a couple more before we do all this. Let's try 6. So let's see if we can insert a new employee at position 0. So 6. Enter position to insert the new employee, 0. Employee number, 200. I'll use my youngest daughter. All right, so let's see I'm going to put an 11 in here, and if she's the new first person in here, and she is. All right. So I was able to insert a new employee at position X. So let's see if we can remove somebody. So let's do a 7. Enter position to pop. Well, I'll use my wife there. I guess I should have moved this over a little, but that's not a big thing. So we'll say 1. Employee 100 was removed from position 1. So again, let's do an 11. And you'll see now all that's in there is my daughter, Chloe. So right now, we were able to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 1. So we've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 to go. All right, I'm going to add just a couple more. So I'm going to do a just a 1. And we'll put in here 2, 2, 2. And I'm going to use my 2 other daughters. Daughter's married. All right. All right. So I should have 3 employees now, which are all 3 of my kids. Chloe, Taylor, and Mackenzie. Well, that looks good. Okay. So again, right now I've done number 1. And I've done 6, 7. Oops, try that again. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Well, I don't want to clear it yet, so we'll do that in a second. Let's do number 5. Find an employee at a certain index. 5. Let's use 0 and see if it finds my daughter, Chloe. All right. Well, enter an, I'm sorry, it was supposed to enter an associate employee number. So let's see, what are they in here? We use Mackenzie, which is 900. All right, so that's 5, 900. And it said that she is in position 2. And 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's okay. Number 4 should say we've got 3 employees. All right, there are a total of 3 employees in our list. I don't know where the none is coming from, but someplace it is. All right. So we've now done 1, 4, 5, 6 to 11. So let's do 2 and 3. Let's see if we can make a copy. So let's do number 3. All right, so it made that copy. And there's all 3 of them. Let's do number 2. And it says the list has been cleared. So if I do an 11 right now, notice, sorry, the list is empty. Okay, so that's working as well. Now, it's possible, I'm not going to run through every derivation here, but it's possible that there's something in here that either doesn't work or could work better. I've noticed that if I put a 12 in here now, it runs through it again, and it takes it the second time. All right, I'm not sure why that is. We can take a quick look at that. So let me close this. So there's something in our list menu here. So if it's 12 break, and it's not, I guess when it's breaking, it's coming out of here. All right. So really, I probably shouldn't be breaking. If I want to exit the program, I should be doing an exit in here. All right. And what I can do is come back in here to my methods, and where I put this down on the bottom, which I went over with you previously. There we go. All right, and I'm going to put in here def end program. All right, I'm going to fix this right now, so don't worry. All right, so rather than sorry, the list is empty. Normal program termination. Goodbye. Sleep clear, and then we can exit. Oops, nothing else there. All right, that should. So I want to call end program is what I want to do. So file, save all. Now something kind of interesting here, I think. So let's bring the list menu up. So in here, remember if I do this right now, I'm going to get an error. So if I just call end program, okay, it doesn't know that that even exists, because what I have to do is put plm.end program. All right, just like I did with all the other ones. All right, now what should happen is if I run this again and put a 12 in here, hopefully at least, the program will end normally. In fact, did I put everything in there I wanted to put in? Let's double check that. Yeah, I did put an exit in. Okay, good. File, save all. One thing I've noticed is you better run the one that's got main. If you try to run one of the other ones, this won't even work. So we'll come in here. There's everything. We'll just add quickly an employee. John. Whoops. One. Enter an employee. Oh, that's good. Enter an employee number. 1. John Smith. 10. 10. Make sure that that works. So an 11. There's everything. Okay. Now let's see if we do a 12. Normal program termination. Goodbye. Waits a couple seconds. The program ends. All right. So this will be available. This will be part of the GitHub repository. All right. Now, I'm going to make, there have been 3 videos I've done for this. Okay, just so you know, there have been 3 videos I've done for this. One thing I'm checking on this, and I haven't done anything on this yet at all, but I think this would work just fine. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm going to call the folder Python list example. All right, and then I want to, there's nothing in there right now, so I want to move this here. I want to move this here. And move this. And move this. Okay, so I put everything under a folder called Python list example. Everything should still work just fine. Change the changes, sure, yeah. Sure. Sure. All right, so that's all under there. The reason I'm showing you that is I'm going to make another folder down here, and I'm going to call it Python, dictionary example. Because in my next, all right, I think too, let's see if we can rename this and put the 01 in front of it, because it's the first one I'm doing. I think it'll take a that at the beginning. I don't think there's a problem with that. And I'll rename this one too. And again, I will be 02 dash. In fact, I might as well go in and create the other two that I'm going to end up doing. So I'm going to have over here 03, 03 dash Python. What are we going to have? We're going to also have a set and a tuple. So a tuple example. And finally, we'll have 04 Python set example. So those are the four that I'm going to create. So this one's done. Now, to try to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to grab all four of these. I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to paste them right into here. All right. And I'm going to make some changes. So this will be now renamed. It's giving me some errors. Don't worry. It's going to all be fine in the end. This will be Payroll Dictionary non-OOP. The Python header will be fine. This will be Python Dictionary menu. And this will be Python Dictionary methods. And as I get done with these, then I'll take this when I'm done, and I will come in here, and I will copy that into here. And then when I do this one, I'll copy it into here, just so you have an idea of what's going on. All right. Okay, so that's all finished now. Make sure I didn't screw up anything in here. List, header, etc. All right, this header, the way it's going to change. So notice, there you go, import. Okay, so don't worry about that. We'll fix all of this stuff. All right, but the last thing that I want to quickly say here, so let me do a file, save, and let me just close this. All right, and the only other thing I want to say here, hopefully I didn't lose my stuff. Let's see, good. Is we've now kind of talked out talking about Python lists. I'm done with that. I'm going into dictionaries next. All right, I've already done that here. And dictionaries are key value pairs, and we'll talk about that. All right. But these list methods, I'm just letting them go now. And the Python lambda, I'm letting go. All right. But what I want to do is I want to come down to the dictionary methods. And the reason I'm telling you this is what I want to do. Let me show you this real quick. All right. Yeah, this is good. All right. So here are our list methods. All right, those are the ones that we just went over. And over here, which somehow I removed it, over here are our dictionary methods. All right, some are the same, some are different. Okay, so we've got clear, copy, from keys, get items, keys, pop item, set, default, update, and values. So I'm going to have to go in when I'm creating my methods and replace the ones that exist with these. Okay, that'll be in the next set of lectures. So talk to you again soon.